This week on the Brisbane Property Podcast, we're talking technology.
Yeah, we're going to give some insights into all of the latest prop tech that's available already or coming into the buyer's agent space, what you need to be aware of, where it can condense time and benefit you as a property buyer, and most importantly, when that human element remains top priority. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Brisbane Property Podcast with your hosts Melinda and Scott Jennison.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Brisbane Property Podcast with Scott and Melinda Jennison. And technology, it's an interesting one, how it's sort of come about these days so rapidly, how things have changed, and we've got AI and all those types of things. So today we're going to talk about how those are useful or how they're not useful in different areas in property.
Absolutely. We call it PropTech. That's the technology that's been advancing through the property sector. And it's been extremely rapid in the last 4 or 5 years, especially off the back of COVID, as, you know, more and more technologies become available. Also, the introduction of AI, ChatGPT, the knowledge sources that we now have through our computers. We really want to unpack, when can we rely on AI? When should we rely on AI? And more importantly, when is human interaction still a necessary step in the process, especially when it comes to selecting A-grade property? So that is the focus of today's episode. It's going to be quite interesting. And a lot of this came off the back of our team recently attending the Real Estate Buyers Agents Association of Australia conference. It was in Melbourne. There were 2 days jam-packed with guest speakers. And 2 of those guest speakers were industry experts in PropTech and AI for the property sector. So we're going to unpack some of their insights and share them with you in terms of what's actually happening in this space right now. And as a consumer, what you need to be aware of.
I think probably one of the biggest things I noticed, and especially from the conference, saving time is probably the big thing that I think AI can be useful for. One thing it will never ever take away is that service and that human connection and the emotion side of it. But it can definitely compact your time a little bit and save a little bit of time, hopefully to allow you to have more time to do that interaction and that service that you just can't replace, that human service.
That said, I think that there's more and more companies entering the industry, especially in the buyer's agent space, that are relying more and more on technology and taking away that human element. So we're going to unpack, what technology is available as the first step, and some of the insights, are really mind-blowing, let's just say. Of course, with advancements in AI and PropTech, we're now seeing robots or artificial intelligence do a lot of the process of vetting properties, matching properties to clients, property reports, including due diligence reports on properties, even pricing properties. And we've had a level of automated valuation tools available to us that they are advancing as technology improves. AI can also help with proposals, with understanding the client through reviewing their LinkedIn profile and identifying their personality to be able to create reports that are specifically tailored for an individual who might be inquiring about your service. I mean, this is mind-blowing, but we saw it being demonstrated to us at the Real Estate Buyers Agents Association of Australia conference. I'm going to use the acronym REBAA from now on because it's easier to say. We also saw AI-produced websites within minutes, not days. We saw AI-produced podcast episodes from PDF documents that were available. And we also experienced firsthand AI phone calls, that is, artificial intelligence, robots making phone calls to us to inquire about services or inquire about properties, or in fact to share information about properties. So this is the space of PropTech that we're going to be investigating today, and we're going to talk about where does it have its advantages, where do we see it being useful for buyers, and where are the risks, and where do we feel that the human interaction is still absolutely critical in the process.
I will jump onto one which I thought was quite amazing, and one of the at the REBAA conference, one of the speakers got up and actually talked about introducing, he is going to be a 21 or 25-year-old new sales agent, I think it was, coming into the market, and he created this spiel all through AI and then a video and it was actually a video of him walking along the street talking about this property. He paused it and he said, okay, now we'll start again. And it changed to Spanish, and then it changed to Mandarin. And then so it went through all of these different languages, and it was complete AI. It was quite amazing to see. And this was all done literally straight away. Like, he literally created all of this work and produced this straight away. And it was quite mind-blowing just to see something like that happen.
And just so that any listeners can understand who it was that was presenting this information, it was Seth Watts. He's an AI guru. He has really excelled in artificial intelligence, and in the space of half an hour, he demonstrated so many tools to the conference attendees that really are showing us the direction that our industry is heading. And there are some businesses already using a lot of these tools, and they're getting some good results. But I guess the question is, how long will the consumer want to be partnering with artificial intelligence, and when is the human connection going to be important during the real estate transaction?
I find it, maybe I'm a little bit old school, but even when I pick up the phone sometimes and I make an inquiry somewhere, and if I've got to push numbers, I start to get frustrated, and then I'm not talking to someone, I get even more frustrated, and I just want to talk to someone. So maybe I'm a bit old school, but look, I think there is a place for it, and I think it does have a lot of advantages when it's used well. The phone call ones and things like that, I probably struggle a little bit with, because I do like to talk to people and get the right answers. And
look, I think at the end of the day, talking to a robot, if you can tell that it's artificial intelligence, it might be quite frustrating for you. For some people, that may be the case. For others, perhaps not. But where is the line between when you can tell you're talking to artificial intelligence and when are you talking to a human? And I think that line is becoming more blurred as artificial intelligence continues to improve and advance in terms of the way it's being delivered.
So with some of these tools, where can they actually help buyers or buyers agents?
Yeah, I do absolutely think that there's a place for AI and PropTech in the buyer's agent space. And in fact, our business uses a lot of this tech to, condense our own time. Specifically, it is in relation to fast tracking some of the property due diligence that we do. That said, if it is a property of interest, we'll always fact check with the source to ensure that the AI generated reports or the condensed reports are accurate, because sometimes there's not that accuracy. It might be pulling from an old data source. It might actually be a report that's pulling from flood maps from Queensland, not local council flood maps. You can see some of the nuances in how certain reports are created, and it's important as buyer's agents that we know the source so we can go and check and verify, and that's certainly what we would do on any properties that we're interested in purchasing for clients, to ensure that the AI is accurate. Because one thing that AI does sometimes is it hallucinates, or it doesn't actually produce information that's 100% accurate, and that becomes the risk factor for any buyer relying solely on AI-produced reports. That said, it can condense time, and if AI reports are showing that there's flood risk or zoning risk or development risk, it's easy then to verify just the area of concern through fact-checking with the source to rule a property out and move on with the search. So that does speed up that process. I think it also can, where it is advantageous is that it layers the service. So it provides a tool that enables you to free up your time to use that time to service clients. And what I mean by that is I don't think that AI will ever replace the relationships that exist in a real estate transaction. Of course, when representing buyers, there's an enormous amount of trust building that must take place in actually developing a relationship with that person so that they genuinely trust the advice that you're providing. As well as that, there's the relationship that you're building with the selling agent. And I don't think that AI will ever replace that relationship, because human beings rely on relationships for interaction. And I think that the more people think that AI is going to overtake the relationship part of the transaction, I think that's where the argument is a little flawed.
Yeah, I don't think you can be too lazy. I think you've got to check things. It's not a complete solution for everything. But as you say, it can tighten things up in time. You do have to check them. And interesting when you said there, Melinda, about how it can check things like flood mapping and things like that. It's just been updated in Brisbane, the flood
being
mapping
updated.
being updated. So again,
Right.
these are things you need to make sure you do cross check
Yep.
to make sure it is actually
Accurate.
without sending them off to a client as well. So.
Absolutely. Where can it go wrong? And this is probably an area that I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into, because I think PropTech can actually give some buyers a false sense of confidence at times. And I want to be able to give specific examples of when this happens. So first of all, I will say algorithms, they can't walk through a home. A robot can't walk through a home. No form of AI can provide the emotional response or emotional experience that tech can provide by walking through a home. And I know when we're representing home buyers, for example, we can find a property that ticks all of the boxes, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not going to be a good match for the client. And there's no AI that's going to encapsulate the feeling that a home can give. And what is important to understand for anyone out there that's thinking, yeah, but you don't have to worry about me, I'm an investor and I'm therefore not worried about the feelings that a home buyer might have. Remember that across Australia, the majority of property buyers are home buyers. They make up about 65% of all property buyers across the nation, and the majority of those buyers do buy with emotion, because that is the reality of buying a home. It's very unlikely that they're purely using a calculator to come to a decision about where to live or what to pay for that particular property. So it's critical that the human element and the human emotions that come with buying a home are considered, especially when you're relying on some tech in the background to help guide you in terms of that property. Classic example, if you're looking online at any, automated price estimates for a property, we often find that they're grossly inaccurate. And the reason for that is that a lot of them are not yet detecting the quality of the property or differences in floor plans or, changes to development impacts nearby. Whereas, if you're just purely looking at land size and property size without considering quality, it can be grossly inaccurate. And an unrenovated property can be overestimated, and a completely renovated property can be underestimated in terms of value. So these are just some examples of some of the nuances associated with relying purely on PropTech and not actually overlaying that with some human knowledge and human IQ.
I think it's interesting when you talk about the human side of it, and even when you touched on home buyers being emotional and they need to see it and feel it and make it all nice, and investors not so much. There still is that level, because even if you're buying an investment property, you want it to be desirable. You want people to actually want to live in there. So again, it does have that little bit of that feely sort of side of it as well. It has to have that a little bit, and you never know what's going to happen in the future. You buy an investment property, and if circumstances change and you have to sell that property, you want it to be desirable. You want it that, hey, maybe a home buyer might come in and buy it off you, and they might even pay more than an investor, so you'll actually make more money out of it. So there is that level of it, or of that feely sort of, however you want to put it, as opposed to that non-emotion side of it. So you still have to have that element, and AI just can't do that. That takes a human to walk through, to look at the property, to feel it, to understand how it flows, where it is, the local streets, understanding what that's like, what's in the local area. Just understanding livability of a property is something that AI just can't do.
And I think also as a brand, our buyers advocacy service at Streamline Property Buyers would never rely on AI telephone calls to agents or to our clients. That just does not align with the service levels that we set for ourselves. Yes, you might be able to make a higher volume of calls to get information that might be relevant to you. However, it completely eliminates the relationship part of the process. And in real estate, I strongly believe that success is determined to some extent by the relationships that you build, especially in your local area. And without those relationships, then that flow of new opportunities starts to dry up. Without the relationships, the leads and the people that are wanting to buy, they no longer inquire. Without the relationships, you don't see agents calling with the new off-market opportunity that they might have coming. So this is where there's a big difference between, tech matching through AI platforms and and building relationships with people.
I think that's also important. And I know it happens everywhere, but you've got your borderless buyers agents that buy everywhere. Look, I was talking to someone the other day, and one thing they actually said to me was, being your niche market and understanding your local market, that is just so important. If you know the streets, you know the area, and you know it inside out, and you know all of the agents, and you've got all the contacts, and you've got the trades to help, and you've got the property managers. There's so many different things that are involved in it. I think that's where people rely on some of this tech side of things to buy anywhere and everywhere, as opposed to just knowing their actual market and being a specialist in your local area.
Yeah, and I'd like to just sort of highlight one example, for example, that of an incident where a buyer who had engaged a borderless buyer's agent purchased a property. This one was actually not in Brisbane. It was in a regional area. And this is something that was a complaint sent into REBAA. For those that don't know, I am the president of the Real Estate Buyers Agents Association of Australia. So, I'm a huge advocate for industry best practice and ensuring that consumers are protected when they are represented by buyers agents. So, as a brand, Streamline Property Buyers holds our service levels to the highest standards, but also I advocate for that across the industry as a whole. But some people confuse REBAA as the governing body for buyers agents. We're not. That would be the Office of Fair Trading in each state. We are simply the association group that holds buyers agents to account by ensuring those that are members actually abide by a professional code of conduct and meet minimum standards that the industry should offer to consumers. So there are examples, unfortunately too many for this podcast episode, where consumers have been burned, where consumers have relied on the advice from buyers agents who largely rely on tech and PropTech. In fact, they rely on numbers-based purchases. They don't physically inspect properties. One specific example was a regional buyer that purchased a property. They purchased that property, it's settled, and only following settlement did they actually find out from the property manager that was engaged that the property was untenantable. They actually could not rent the property in its current condition. Consequently, they found out that property was never inspected by the buyer's agent, who was not actually in that regional area, but they were buying from a capital city market into regional markets based on data alone, and they were relying on property managers to feed back information to them. So what happened is that, unfortunately, this buyer had significant financial loss, and they have taken that matter up directly with the buyer's agent involved and escalated it through the Office of Fair Trading and other avenues. So this is a situation that unfortunately is happening more frequently than I'd like to think within our industry, and it's because a lot of people are relying too much on PropTech without that human interaction, without that physical inspection, without that the casting of human eyes over properties to ensure that it meets the standards that are required for purchase.
Yes, again, I think there's too many of those stories, and it's what probably gives the industry a bad name as well. So definitely, I think that human area is just something you can't take away. I mean, we talk about the emotional buyer side of things, and again, this is something that you just can't take that away, and AI just can't do that type of thing when you're buying property.
That's right. And I'm also going to sort of add on top of that, no AI filter, if you like, or program is going to be able to identify the local nuances, such as these are the best streets in the suburb, or this street has a better outlook than that street, or this area's future infrastructure is superior to this other area. Like these gentrification patterns that you see in real time are only picked up retrospectively through data and therefore through the PropTech platforms. When you're seeing it happen in real time, you're so much ahead of the data. And don't get me wrong, I love data. If anyone is a regular podcast listener, you will know that we rely on a lot of data. We rely on a lot of this information to give us certainty that our recommendations are accurate, but we're more forward thinking and we're looking at the real-time information that we're collecting. For example, how do you measure how much demand there is in a market? Do you look at days on market to determine that the activity levels are increasing and therefore days on market are shrinking. Is that an indication that we use? No. We actually turn up on Saturdays to open homes, and we're actually looking at the number of buyers that are turning up for different product types. And we are so much ahead of the retrospective data that might filter through to days on market. And then there's a question of the accuracy and reliability of some of the real estate data that does exist. And we've talked a lot about this on real estate market update episodes that we run, because even the major data houses have different results on a month-to-month basis in terms of price movement. So really understanding in a market what's happening at a local level provides a level of insight that PropTech and AI simply are currently unable to replicate. And I think that combining both gives the best results for property buyers in the market.
I jump on that. I know when you said back there about the street by street and those types of things. Look, Melinda's lived and breathed Brisbane for all of her life. So I keep coming back to that local knowledge side of it. One thing we do even with our buyers agency, when somebody is either new or in training with us, or if they're looking in a certain area they're not sure about, we will say to them, go and drive it. Go and actually just drive the streets and just spend a couple of hours just driving up and down the streets, getting to know what it's like, see what's around the place, and know that area so well that if someone rang you and said, I want to buy in that suburb, you could go, well, this street's like this and this street's like that. All right, you can understand it. And that's, again, you can look at all the AI, you can go back as basic as you like to Google Maps and look at street views. They're still old. They're still dated.
Old, very dated.
So you've got to, that's what I keep coming back to about this local knowledge, that it's going to kill AI every day of the week. I'm out to beat it.
To beat a monster. It's growing every day.
Okay. We use it. Yes, we do use it, and I'm not gonna kill it just yet, because it is actually pretty amazing, and what it can do when it's done really well. And through some of our processes and our systems here at Streamline Property Buyers, for example, when people make contact to us, how easy it is to get in contact with us and book in and get set up for a discovery call with a human.
On a video call, so it's face to face. And I think that's the difference. We use the AI to facilitate the meetings where we can set aside time to really engage with people. It's the same with our clients. We will use AI to deliver information, and then we will set aside time to really engage about a property through conversation or video calls. And I think this is a point of difference, because all of the information produced by AI and automated reports and that sort of thing, it's useful to a point, and then you need to overlay that with the human interaction and the expert guidance by overlaying that local expertise on top.
Yeah, you can't, as I say, you use it, and you just don't replace everything with it. I think it is a valuable tool in certain areas. Cross-check it, validate it, refine it, never replace it. And utilize it in the right way.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things buyers should look out for, whether they're representing themselves and subscribing to some of the property platforms that are becoming available to consumers, or whether they're being represented by a buyer's agent. I think that there should be healthy skepticism around relying on automated valuation reports. Anything produced by AI or technology to value a property, it must be vetted by a human, and there must be human expertise overlaid with that. I think that red flags such as being over-reliant on heat maps or ignoring on-the-ground inspections and on-site inspections, trusting data without understanding what it's made up of. These things can expose you to significant risk, and it's important that if you don't understand it, you ask and get explanation from a human in terms of what does all of this mean and what does this mean for me as a buyer. I think also I would encourage anyone to seek an expert review, even when AI tools are used. So don't rely purely on what reports are being produced. Ask for human input to ensure that they are accurate.
The big thing I probably look at is using it to inform you, but not to make a decision. I think that's probably the big thing. Use it for the information to probably educate and become informed more from that, but don't use it entirely to make the decision.
And here's a classic example. It's happened more than once in people that may inquire about our services, and they will ask ChatGPT, what investment criteria should I use to purchase an investment property in Brisbane? And ChatGPT will spit out something that may be completely irrelevant to them, irrelevant to their strategy, irrelevant to their goals. And we always know when it's being produced by ChatGPT. Our job is to educate as to why what ChatGPT tells you is right for you may not actually be right for you, because that human knowledge and that ability to translate knowledge into the personal experience, that's what becomes critical when it comes to selecting the right investment for an individual.
And I think Seth summed it up at the REBAA conference, using AI, not AS.
AS is artificial stupidity. Yeah. AI is artificial intelligence. And which format are you using? That's the question that I ask.
Well, hopefully that's been helpful information. AI, it is here. It's here to stay. I'm not going to be able to kill it. I'll admit to that now. But yeah, use it wisely. Use the human side of things as well, and I think it is a powerful thing, and it can actually save some time.
Absolutely. My I guess final line is to use tech to inform, but not to decide, and reinforce that message to you all. I'll definitely reinforce that trusted professionals in a specific market will still deliver the biggest edge. And this is especially the case in a market that moves fast and a market that varies suburb by suburb. And that's definitely the case here in Brisbane.
Okay, thanks very much for listening. As usual, I'll let Melinda wrap it up. We're real people, we're not AI. So I'll let Melinda wrap it up again this week, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Thanks again for joining us on the Brisbane Property Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, giving you some insights into what's coming in the world of AI and how many businesses are already implementing it in the buyer's agent space. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with friends and family. We would love for you to leave us a review so that others can find this episode and our whole podcast series. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon. Until then, bye for now.